Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm the Knight and welcome to my fourth How to TPvP advanced video, which will cover up the basic explanation about rotations. First of all, I want to say that this video won't cover any specific detailed rotation inside a game, because you do have to know rotations are dependable on the enemy composition you're fighting and your composition. I'm just gonna explain each class's their wall a bit, like what you might consider doing or using, and some basic principles you gotta know about rotations as well. But first of all, what I want to say as well is I gotta mention my very first donator in game is Rafael Latro. He sent me 10 gold today right before I was pressing the record button actually. And yeah, he sent me 10 gold and he was really saying in email and whispers like, thanks man, like I just been back from Guild Wars 2 and it's really hard for me to find any viable build at the moment. Like people are they're not that eager to help me in Hearts of the Mist and stuff, so it's really fun to see a channel that's actually showing all classes. Well, Raphael, you're pretty much welcome, but again, you don't really need to be on my channel. Like there are a bunch of other channels actually which are mostly class specific, but like Jabro's channel, which is on Jabro Unity, he's also showing all the classes. His videos are a bit older, but actually he's explaining the traits much better as I am, because he's a Welsh guy. Like he's that guy from the Welsh. So yeah, he can he can speak English quite decent, and that's actually my only thing that is stopping me from actually explaining traits quite well. But anyway, enough talking about that stuff. So rotations. First of all, what are rotations? Rotations is basically the tactical movement you make which is responding to every enemy, to every movement the enemy is making. So basically we're actually talking about chess. Chess also has rotations. Each time you make a move, that is a rotation, because it's based on the movement that your opponent has made. So that is a rotation. That is basically a team or a map rotation. That's very important as well. You do have to know, like I've checked my YouTube account analytics before, and I see the most viewers are from NA. Now NA guys, I want to tell you, I'm from the Europe, and my theory is actually also for Europe. Like the more specific and detailed I'm gonna go, the more it will be just for the European side. So that's why I decided to actually make a video that's just explaining the basic stuffs, explaining the basic rotations, and you guys need to figure out the specific detailed rotations for yourself. So this video is good for both NA and Europe. You don't need to worry about it. Just enjoy the video. You will just hear me talk a lot. Like if you're not really into hearing someone talking for about the next half hour, or I don't know how long this video is gonna be, just it's better if you just ask some top player in Hearts of the Mist what specific class rotations they got. But anyway, let's start. So the first thing I want to say is, if you don't have a rotation in your team or on the map, you're done for. What I'm saying with that is, if you want to be on the leaderboards in the European thing, that is, you need to have at least rotations and communication as well. It's very essential. You also watch my previous video, which is about communication, if you have no idea about team play and communication at all. Like in my previous video, I'm just explaining what you should say in And whilst a match, what you need to say through TeamSpeak, Skype, Ventrilo, voice chat, doesn't matter. The things that are very vital for your team to know, I'm explaining those stuff in the previous video. So yeah, you really need rotations in Team Arena. If you want to make it into ESL, into Tournament or Legends, if you want to make a name, you need rotations and decent communications as well. What might also help you to train a bit on your rotation is the coordination between the minimap and the communication. Like, you can see enemies on a minimap as well, but only if they're in combat. So it's very essential you keep an eye on the minimap and you keep reporting those as well. If no one of your team is reporting those enemies about their situation or their location, then you should be the one telling them, because your team needs to be up to date about every single enemy on the map. The other thing I also want to say is, if you're a pro with your team at rotations, you're pretty much able to run every class you want in your team. You can run 5 DPS, 5 squishies in your team without a single guardian. That's possible. And Cheese Mode showed that the last ESL. They fought 55 HP monks and they won without a guardian. Yes, they did it. So it's pretty much possible if you master rotations and communication skills at a certain level. You can play whatever class you want to in your team. That's no problem at all. The only difference is that if you're using 5 squishies in your team, no one of your team can be fighting outnumbered. So you gotta keep the fights equal everywhere on the map. So that is the basic rotation when it comes to running 5 squishies. That's one of the golden rules as well. The second rule that I want to say, and that applies to 90% of the PvP community at this very moment in Team Arena. If you're not in the leaderboard, or if you are in the leaderboard, doesn't matter. This rule actually concerns you. I'm talking about the classic thief guard composition. There are a lot of teams, be it top teams, be it new teams, with a guardian and a thief in their team. And that's good, and I'm gonna tell you why. If you're running a guardian in your team and a thief, you can play the outnumbered to outnumbered rule, or basically the outnumbered and outnumber rotation. What does that mean? Basically what it means is that your guardian, together with any other bunker class you got in your team, let's say the staff LA, if they are on a point together, they're able to fight outnumbered. They don't really need to be able to kill anyone. They just need to be able to survive. A guardian and a staff LA or a dagger LA, they are able to withstand 3 to 4 players depending on their builds and on their experience. So they can hold off quite long, meaning that fight will be outnumbered. Your guardian is fighting outnumbered, and that is good, and I will tell you why. Because your enemies are with 3 on mid, and let's say the guardian and the LA are fighting on mid. It's 3 versus 2. As I said, it's outnumbered. The second class I'm gonna say now is the thief. Alright? That the thief is doing the second part of the outnumbered to outnumbered outnumber to outnumbered rotation. So what is the thief doing? What is the thief's job in this situation? The thief's job is actually going to the 4 point, because mostly because there's 3 enemies on mid fighting 2 allies. That means you have still 3 allies left while the enemies have 2 left somewhere else. and then you can focus either on if the other fight is at close or the other fight is at far. With your thief you can outnumber that fight as well. So you don't need to stick on mid to keep the fight even. Just leave the LA and the Guardian alone. They will survive. If they're decent enough, they will survive, and you can outnumber the fight on far, on close, depending what the current situation is. So that's exactly something you need to remember. If you're running the classic Guardian Thief setup, you need to do the outnumbered to outnumber rotation. So your Guardian needs to be outnumbered while your Thief is the one who's outnumbering. Okay guys? And that needs to happen at the same time. That's very essential. So for the bosses, like in the Forest of Niflheim, I think it is, it all depends on the current situation. Like if you have a close holder, let's say the Spirit Ranger, let's say the Turret Engineer, they can pretty much pull their boss to their close to their close point and actually stand on the point even and kill the boss. That's no problem, and they will still be able to watch an eye on close, so they can actually kill the boss that way. Now when it comes to the enemy boss, the opposite boss, it's actually the Thief's job or any other fast roamer build, like the Trinket Celestial Rifle LA Engineer, sorry, or the Condition Engineer, doesn't really matter. But it's up to you. Like if you watch the minimap, as I said before, it's really important you keep an eye on the minimap. If you watch the minimap, you both see the symbols of both bosses, and if they move and you don't see any ally of you in the neighborhood, that means the enemy team is trying to either kill the Lord, kill their beast, or they're either trying to pull you. Like it can be a trick to actually pull you away from the mid fight. Top teams regularly doing that. They just tag your beast buff and they will go to the mid fight, and you will be on the mid fight and you will see on the minimap like, oh no, it's moving, that means someone of the enemy is trying to take our buff, but actually it was a trick, and you will actually send someone over trying to steal the boss, and you will notice there will be no one there, and basically you will leave your team outnumbered. So it's very essential, you need to know where every enemy is. You can do the same trick exactly, like if you're the decap warrior, you going to far, you decapped far, you capped far, and you notice like there is a lot of pressure on the mid fight for your team, you can tag their beasts and just pull it away a bit from its original spot, and they will see on the minimap it's moving, and they will send someone and eventually to check out and trying to steal the boss away from you. And meanwhile, while you just tagged that beast, you can just go to the mid fight, and that way you will leave the enemy team outnumbered. So you're actually switching places. So that's one of the basic rotations on Forest of Niflheim as well. It's very essential that you actually do that. But it only works like if you still got all your allies on the team fight. Like if you already lost two members on the team fight and it's a 3 versus 1, then you shouldn't even bother going to mid, because that would be pure suicide. I would suggest either staying at far for a bit or trying to kill the beasts very fast, because a DPS warrior is able to do that. So you need to react on the current situation. Don't go suicide inside a point. Don't ever go way too outnumbered inside a point. If you see 3 people on a point, They just killed your allies. Don't go stand there on the point to keep it contestant. They will kill you in a matter of seconds. And meanwhile, they will have +5 points. They will have the full cap. You will have a respawn timer of 15 seconds. And yeah, there you go. So suiciding, contesting a point is meaningless. At least if it's not, if you know you can survive for at least 30 seconds. Like if you're a warrior, like let's say a Hambo, and let's say it's a dagger LA on the close together with the Guardian, let's say, then you're able to keep him busy for quite long and to wait for support. Now the next thing I want to mention is the class information. So basically what I'm going to do now is explain the class's roles, like the basic rotations you need to know, you need to use. First of all, for the thief, we gonna be going for the far cap mostly. The thief's job is going for the far decap and cap if it's possible. The first rule is that your communication should be perfect, and whilst communicating, your team should always let you know where all 5 enemies are. That way you know when far is a free cap. If you have troubles with anything I'm saying right now about communication, like if you don't understand it, just watch my previous video. I'm explaining everything in detail right there, what you need to say about communication and why and in what situations. So when it comes to thief has the mobility to decap far quite fast. The second job you need to do is, like I said before, if you're in the classic guard thief composition, you need to outnumber fights as well. You will also be the one cleaving. If there is a downed enemy, you will be the one cleaving. What is cleaving? That is doing AoE pressure, let's say with your short bow. First put the short bow 4 on them, that's the poison field, so it takes 33% longer to res them, and then spam the short bow 2 as much as you can. That will be your cleave damage. It offers enough support damage that someone else is able to make the stop. The next thing you should know about thief is that you always need to avoid fights on the far point. If you're going for the far point and there is an enemy on it, let's say a third engineer, don't even engage the fight. Never engage a fight on far, except if it's a thief or a mesmer, because the only class that can counter and kill a thief is a thief. Nothing else can counter a thief because of its mobility and its stealth. A mesmer, if a mesmer is on the far point, you can kill the mesmer quite fast because a thief counters mesmers. That's something you need to know. If you're still having trouble as a thief versus mesmer, then I suggest stop looking for a team and train 1 versus mesmers first. Watch ESL videos weekly and watch how their thieves are actually rotating. When it comes to the next class, that will be the LA. Well, actually there is still one job for the thief to do. I'm sorry, I forgot. That is actually reporting every enemy you see in the TeamSpeak, Skype, Ventuelo, Mumble. Doesn't matter what voice chat you're using. You need to report every single enemy you see, because your other teammates cannot see what you're seeing because of your mobility. You will be on places that your allies are not, like the far cap. Like you will be the one being at the far point, so you will be the only one who's seeing like the just respawned enemies are going, like if they're crossing the beach or if they're just crossing the map towards your close, then you will be able to see that and report that to your team. So as long as you report that, your team will know they'll have to send someone to close to defend it. So it's all comes about communication. If you can't communicate, you can't rotate. It's simple. A lot of players are saying like you only need the minimap. That's not true, because the minimap doesn't show you everything. Like, as long as the enemies are not in combat, without communication you won't even know where they are. You can only try to guess where they're going, and that's a really bad habit. If you're going to start guessing on where they're gonna be and make rotations based on that guess, you will lose. So you need to utilize your communication to the max as possible. Just watch my previous video if you got problems with communicating. For the next class, LAs. If you're a DD LA, you should be equipping the Fury Greatsword Elite. Why? It's purely meant for the rotation. It's also meant actually for killing the boss or killing the beasts fast. But the first reason of all is it's for the opener. It's for the very first rotation you're gonna do. So before the match starts, you know you have a 10 seconds timer before the gates are actually open. That's the time when your LA, your DD LA, needs to summon their Fury Greatsword, give it to, let's say, the warrior or the thief, preferably the warrior, who's going to far with you. If you equip the Fury Greatsword, you only use Greatsword skill 3 and Greatsword skill 4. That is exactly the same as a whirlwind attack on the Greatsword warrior skill 3 and the rush on Greatsword skill 5. Those skills are exactly the same on the Fury Greatsword, except they are actually quite longer and their mobility is quite better on the Fury Greatsword. So before the match starts, if you got a Dagger LA or you are the Dagger LA, you should be summoning the Fury Greatsword, and if you're playing solo arena, you should quickly explain in team arena why you're gonna summon it and who should use it and how and why. You should explain that really fast. But if you're in team arena and you're playing with a team, explain them on TS. Like if they're new to it, just explain or just link this video so they will explain it later. For the rotation based, like the map rotation based, when it comes to DD elementalist, you will just be everywhere, wherever your team needs you. So you will be the one balancing out the fights. Like if there's a situation, a 3 versus 2, and let's say in those 2 of your team there is no guardian, you should be the one going there to balancing out the fight. And mostly in that case, a DD LA is even possible to turn the tide, because it takes a lot of focus and organizing to actually take down a Dagger LA at one team fight. The second thing you need to know, sorry for the noise, it's the streets, it really bothers me. Okay. So the second thing is the staff LA. When it comes to staff LA, you can be wherever you want to be. You can play solo or you can play with a team. I mean, in the map rotation, you can go for far alone when it's a free camp and hold far, be a far point holder. But that way you will, like, if you do that in solo arena, a lot of people are gonna hate on you and say like, oh, the staff LA should be a team fights. Yeah, okay, yeah, staff LAs are meant for team fights, but the current meta of staff LA can bunk like 3 people. It's possible to bunk if you have kiting abilities. You can literally keep 3 enemies busy at the far point. So basically, the enemy will be outnumbered. They will only have 2 other enemies on either mid or close. So basically you're outnumbering the enemies quite hard as a staff ally. So it's totally up to you, like if you want to be spamming water fields and fire fields on the mid fight all the time, like that, okay, fine, that's your choice. If you want to be that healing ally, that's good as well, like you're offering a lot of support. But basically it's quite useless if there is a guardian already there, like, you know. But basically it's still better, in my experience as well, to have someone with you and going to far and keep a lot of enemy busy at far. Like seriously, ask the top staff allies at this very moment. They can tell you how strong a staff ally actually is. Like they can keep 3 players busy at far if they want to. So actually they are outnumbering their enemies on the other parts of the map. When it comes to Guardian, excuse me for my funny Guardian, he's a pimp. He only asks $50. $50. Yeah, so for the Guardian, this tip is actually for all the players in the PvP community. There are a lot of new to mediocre players who keep saying a bunker guard should be staying on mid. No, no. Even if you're a new player, no, don't listen to them. Even if they're rank 80, that means they farmed their rank in the farming server of Skyhammer. Don't listen to them. A support guardian should never be called bunker as well, because it does not stay on the point, it's not a point holder. You get that? It's a support guardian because it supports, it has shouts to support, and that's really essential that you guys know the difference. The guardian should be everywhere where the fight is outnumbered and where the enemy has a guardian as well. So let's have an example, like there's 3 on close, 3 enemies on close, only 2 allies of you are there because 1 died. Let's say you're on the mid, together with the staff LA, that's an excellent situation, and you're fighting 2 enemies, well, the remaining 2 enemies there as well. You can leave the staff elementalist there, you can tell the guy, the ally that is respawning over there to help at mid, and you take his spot where he died on close. So basically that is a rotation as well. You will be everywhere where your team needs you to be. You will be everywhere where support needs to be. You don't need to be on the places where you don't need to be. Like let's say on the close point there is an enemy guardian and an enemy let's say engineer, then it's just stupid to send you there because you can't kill them. Like just send your warrior and your elementalist there, and they will take care of and counter theirs. So you really need to know and communicate really good in order to be successful in PvP. NGs. NGs. When it comes to NGs, it's really depending on the build. You got the turret NG, which just decaps far or close and caps it and stays there the whole game long, and being the best bunker turret NG ever. Yay. Yeah. So by the way, if you're wondering how the current bad engineers are getting their title, champion, I don't even remember what it is, champion genius, it's just because they play turret engineer. So don't break your head about it. Like if they suck at playing PvP with their engineer, with any other build, that means they just play turret engineer and just spam a solo arena and just win the matches all the time. That's how they get their title. It's simple. There goes my frustration. No. So yeah, depending on the build, if you're a turret engineer, you should go preferably far and decap it if it's needed. Like a turret engineer has no problem at all to decap. Like no problem at all. Like if you have problem with decapping, then you're actually quite bad at playing this game. Then you should really go to the basics and train and watch videos. So as a turret engineer, you go far, decap it, cap it, stay there. That's all you do. If you have no feeling for rotation, play turret engineer. That's the only best thing at the moment. If you are quite up for challenges, you can go either full condition, which is with well, it's the build. The condition build is on my YouTube channel, but there's also this new top NG build, and I just watched it, and 3 people already disliked it. I was like, what? Those are probably NA players or something, I don't know, but those people have no idea how strong that build actually really is. That build came from someone who is in the top 50 team arena and European. So why are people disliking it? Probably because they got killed by it all the time. That might be it as well. So if you're playing that other build, like the Celestial Triket Rifle Engineer, you will be playing as a roamer and as a support. The same counts as the condition engineer. You will be playing as roamer and support. You support where the fights are outnumbered, as well as the dagger element list. For the warriors, it's pretty basic as well. If you're a Hambo, you will be your responsibility will be close. If you don't have a spirit ranger or a turret engineer watching close, you will be the first one going to close if it's getting contested or is there if there is an enemy going there. So it's very essential. Like, the Hambo is quite slow at moving, even though it has almost perma swiftness, but it feels slow. So basically what you need is have your team communicating that good that you always know when there is an enemy coming too close. So your Hambo knows before the enemy reaches close, he needs to go to close. So the Hambo will be at the same time when the enemy is arriving. So mostly that will end up in an equal fight on the close point. If you're a DPS warrior, on the other hand, like the Axe Sword DPS one, the Axe Shield Hammer one, the Axe Mace Greatsword one, the Hammer Greatsword one, it doesn't matter. But if you're a Greatsword warrior, derp. If you're a DPS warrior, you should consider harassing the far point all the time, because people are quite afraid when it comes to fighting DPS warriors. All DPS warriors are quite viable. Like, if you stick with the original tree, the trade tree, like if you stick with the original one, like the cleansing ire and stuff, also fast hands, so you swap weapons quite fast and stuff, your DPS build might come in handy, and it will probably be able to decap far. But you need to be good at it. You just can't change to a Greatsword Dungeon PvE build and say, hey, I'm gonna decap far. No, you really need to train at it. You really need to train 1 versus 1 situation. So I suggest for the future or the current new DPS warriors, just get some friends together, either buy a tournament, either buy an arena and practice there, or just go to an empty hotjoin server and practice there. Or you can even, you can even PM me in game, and you can train in Zeus arena if you want to. Like, we barely use it anymore, like only for testings for applicants, sometimes for trainings as well. But since it's summer vacation, a lot of people are on vacation. So feel free to just PM me in game or send an in-game mail if you want permission to use my arena, and I will give you permission. I will give you the password as well, and you can train there as much as you want to. Don't need to worry about that. I'm here to help the PvP community. That's it. But I don't know, do know that this offer only counts for the European players, because even if you're NA, I really want to help you, and you can have my arena if you want to, but NA players can't use the European servers and the other way around as well. So this offers only counts, unfortunately, for the European players. So don't be afraid of asking, guys. I'm here to help you, okay? Good. For the Mesmer, Mesmer is in my opinion, is very hard to play. Certainly in the current meta, Mesmers have a really hard time. So, the Mesmer rotation, first of all, depends on the enemy composition. If the enemy composition has a thief, that means their thief, well, if they're at least organized and if they watch this video, they know they will have to decap 4. That means they will go for your close. That means it would be stupid if your Mesmer is capping close at start. That means it's better to assign your Mesmer to the enemy far point, which is actually their home point. So your far point. If the enemy has a thief, Mesmer goes far. With the portal, he decaps it if someone is coming, he leaves the portal behind. That way he forces that one enemy that is coming to recap their home point, forces to stay a little at their home point, because they're staring at that portal you just put. So they will be staring at it and wait till it activates. So it's really essential you're up to date about the location, about every single enemy out there. Once you know far is a free cap again, you just activate the portal from it and go to, you will be instantly at 4 again, and you just decap it again. If there is another enemy coming again, you can just take the portal. If it's inside the timer of the portal, you can just go back to mid, and that guy will just be waiting for the portal again for a few seconds. So Mesmer is pretty fun to play actually, because you're mesmerizing your enemies, so it's pretty much fun. So if your enemy composition does not have a thief, then you can send your Mesmer to close together with someone else, of course, and you can leave a portal there and support mid if it's needed. So that's no problem at all. Just don't send Mesmer to close. Don't give the Mesmer the responsibility to keep an eye on close if the enemy has thief, because he will probably be countered most of the time, and you will lose close all the time as well. For the Spirit Ranger, Spirit Ranger is still viable, guys. I mean, yes, cheese mode just proved it in ESL as well. Spirit Rangers are still viable. Just run the updated build. I've also edited on my Spirit Ranger YouTube video, by the way. And so what's the job of Spirit Ranger? Spirit Ranger should be in the team fights due to support that the spirits can give, the passive effects, the passive support, but also because of its elite. Like, if the Spirit Ranger is skilled enough, like he's been there a lot, like he can be right on time summoning that elite spirit and actually activate it to revive the downed enemies, the downed allies, sorry. So a Spirit Ranger can actually turn the tide in a team fight as well, because meanwhile all those enemies have wasted their cooldowns, wasted their stability, their Aegis and stuff like that. Like, they wasted every single thing to cleave and stomp. And you just, with 2 single presses, you summon your elite and you can just res your down teammates again, and you can turn the tide in that team fight. So that's why Spirit Rangers are still viable. The second job of a Spirit Ranger, if you don't really have someone who is assigned on close, like you don't really have a point holder, wow. Then you will be assigned to close mostly. So close will be your responsibility, because a Spirit Ranger is so damn hard to fight on point. Like, they're so strong on point that it's not, I wouldn't even go near a Spirit Ranger mostly. I will just leave them and go somewhere else. Like, yeah, the Spirit Ranger is still strong, guys. For a Necro, in the current state of PvP, Necro isn't that good at the moment, be it power or be it condition. There is even if you think like, yeah, I'm Lich Farm, I pew pew everyone down, yeah, okay, but that means you're not even close to the top teams on the leaderboards. Like, there is not a single power necro in the top 100 in the European leaderboard. Not a single one, because it has its reasons. Power necros have this sign on their head saying, "Focus on me first, please. Rip off my stability as you see me, and kill me instantly." Like that is what power necros and sometimes condition necros are saying. Like it's on their heads. Enemy teams sees necros as the very first threat they need to take care of. So playing a necro is hard life, man. It's like the thug life, you know. You really need to be a gangster and survive all those shizzle my dizzle nigga. So yeah, you really need to be able to survive and kite with the necro. You really need to be good at using the flash worm, because it's a stun breaker and it teleports you to the current location of the flash worm and such. So you really need to watch other top necros play in order to be a good one yourself, right? I would still say, like, when it comes to rotations, like if you're power necro, you just focus on being in the team fights. It doesn't matter if it's mid or far or close. You focus on being in the team fights, and whenever the enemy thief has wasted their cooldowns, you can go into Lich Farm and pew pew them all down. But be careful, the enemy team, their guardian, might recognize your name from a previous game, and they actually might change to a wall of reflection. So basically you will be DPSing yourself down as Lich Farm. So what I suggest mostly to necros is one round you play condition necro, and the other one, if you're facing the same team, you play a power necro. Like, you change. A necro can play, like, if you can play a condition necro, you can surely play a power necro. A power necro is so easy. It's just going into that round mostly and spam 1, because that will be your main burst. You can also go for the welds as well, but yeah, that short 1 still offers the most burst, except for the Lich Farm. So when it comes to rotation, I would say that a condition necro is actually also capable of decapping far, or decapping close if needed. If there's a turret engineer, an enemy turret engineer on your close, you might consider sending your condition necro, because a condition necro hard counters NG. It's like sending a thief to kill a mesmer, alright? So that's something you really need to remember. I would not suggest sending a power necro to a turret engineer, not at all, because the power necro actually is depending on their Death Shroud 1 skill, which is a projectile, and some turret engineers are actually using that new elite skill, which gives a reflective shield around their turret. So basically you will be DPSing yourself down as well. There are some turret engineers even who are using pistol and shield, still a bit of condition pressure based, and they can reflect your projectiles as well with their shield 4. So power necro is a really bad idea to send to close for a turret engineer. You need to send a condition necro to decap 4 or to decap close, depending on the class. Like, condition necro is still viable. Yes, the dumbfire build or the other 06 build, I don't really remember, but I will post it sooner or later. I will ask my fellow guildie what his necro build is, because it's also pretty strong as well. But Doomfire, sorry, is also pretty strong. If you want the utmost DPS when it comes to conditions, you want to run Doomfire, but you really need to be experienced at kiting abilities. You really need to know where the kiting spots are. So basically, guys, that's all for my rotation video. That's just the basic stuff. Like I said before, I'm not going into specific detailed rotation, because if I do that, I need to make thousands video, because there are thousands situations. I can't do that. Those situations are totally up to you, and the things I just said now, the basic stuff. Like, if you mix them, then you can make a perfect rotation. You don't need to worry about that. My next video is probably gonna be about kiting, right? Because I said the word kiting for a few times in this video, but I know some of them are saying, what? Kiting? Just running around? Kiting is not just running around, it's like using the environment. And I will show you guys in the next video some spots in the maps that are perfect for kiting. Like, some maps have perfect kiting spots you really need to use if you're trying to defend a point. And all those kiting spots, by the way, are around the point you need to defend, so you don't need to worry. It's not like the kiting spot is 10 minutes walking to the far point or something. No, it's not. It's always close to the point you're assigned to. Do know that the kiting video will only be for team arena maps, so I'm not gonna show for Skyhammer or that map where you need to take the orb and stuff. No, I'm not. I'm only gonna show it on the team arena maps. Okay guys, thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and also consider a gold donation as an appreciation for my hard work and the sharing capabilities, and I will mention your name in my next video. See you guys later. Thanks all. Bye.